Welcome back everyone. Today we're going to take a look at data again. I'm out at Ruin Station. We just want to take a look at how important is it that you actually have a fairly big gas tank to do quantum jumps, especially out here in Pyro. So we can see here, Ruin Station is almost 70 gigameters, grandmas, whatever you want to call this, right? 6.8 GMs away from Pyro's sun. So, or whatever this star is, Pyro's star, if you will. So if you wanted to go across the station, that's even further. Now I can't actually route this because I'm in a ship, not in a ship. So let me hop in a ship and we'll take a look at that distance, but it should be twice as much essentially because this is in the same ring. Actually, I'll just round it to 140 because we're close to 70. It's probably about 100, a little less than that. It'll be less than that to get to end game. But that's just kind of distances you're looking to travel if you're going to the extremes. Whereas with Stanton, that's definitely not the case. And so I'll insert some footage on the distance for Stanton, but it's not as meaningful for how many gigameters you can actually travel, where with Pyro, it's going to be a big deal. So let's hop in, let's take a look at the data and see how far you can actually get. You can see I am 43, almost 43 and a half gigameters away from the Stanton star. So that, or I guess it's just called Stanton from the Stanton system. But anyways, I'm that far away, so it is almost half. I mean, it's not quite half, right? It's a little over that, but at the end of the day, we're still looking at significantly smaller travel distances. There is an outlier here with Magnus. So if I do put that in as my destination, am I 48 away from it? Anyways, it's a bit further out to get to that particular station. So there is an outlier there, but no one's really going there unless you need to. Same thing with Terra. A couple gateways here where you won't really need to go there. Generally speaking, as far as Stanton's concerned, you're going to be going to, you know, like ArcCorp. I'm not at Microtech right now. I thought about going to Microtech, but it's so busy right now because so many people are still spawning there. For those that are playing live, I mean, I guess I should consider most people aren't playing live, but some people are still logging in to do the event right now, Save Stanton, and I just didn't want to deal with potential traffic at Microtech, and I just wanted to get this all together. At the end of the day, though, we're looking at pretty short distance comparatively to what we have in Pyro. So again, let's get into the numbers. All right, welcome back, everyone. Here we are, sticking with this go. So what we have is a listing of fuel consumption. So this is the fuel efficiency of the drives. Now we're going to look at them by drive size. So class or size 1, size 2, size 3. Size 4, there's only the 890, so I'm going to lump it in with the size 3 stuff. That being said, there's also the different classes. So you have blue. I've used these same colors before. I'm going to try to stick with them. Blue, civilian. Green is competitive, competition drives. Orange is going to be industrial. Red being military, and stealth being gray. What stealth drive means is it just has a lower signature. So when you have an EM signature, I think it also affects the IR or the infrared or the heat that your ship is putting off. So all in all, when you're looking at the stealth option, that is going to be a lower signature offered amongst your ships, so it should reduce the distance, max distance someone should be able to, or minimum distance, I guess, for that person. Anyways, it reduces the amount that someone can actually block you and find you when you're out in the verse. So when looking at these other tables here, we're going to be using the lowest in that particular size categories, the most fuel efficient or the lowest user of fuel. So we'd be assuming something like the Flood, Vulcan, or the Wayfarer when looking at these drives and how far they can go. That being said, you can see this is the look at yesterday's data, 2 days ago actually now. So the patch came out yesterday and it changed the amount of fuel capacity that was available. I wanted to put this video out yesterday, and thank God I didn't because they changed it later in the day. So that being said, this is old data, and so this is where people rounded out before the changes. Now that there's been a buff, this is how much of a buff they're going to be actually getting in percentage. So if I scroll down here a bit, you can see that most of the fighters are in about the middle part here. We have some other starter ships mostly in here. However, again, we'll go back to the top and I'll show you the C8R was pretty high up there. However, you can see the C8, the Vulture is pretty low in here, making up towards the bottom here. It's only this low because the name starts with V. It could be up here, but anyways, all of these are the same, but it's still pretty low on the, like looking at the quartiles, if you will. That being said, though, again, from a starter perspective, the C8 pretty high on the listing here. It's within the top for the size 1 users, it's in the top of the lineup. That being said, you can see here that the Defender makes up about the middle of the arena, and it's going to get a huge buff, almost 350%. It's almost a little over 4 times, almost 4.5 times the amount of distance it can go. So obviously it should make it to the top of the listing when we take a look at the update. The tracker, both the trackers. Oh, the tracker, I didn't realize that before. The tracker actually stands out a bit more compared to the other Hornets. So that's cool. I actually like the tracker. I like the dish and everything and the idea of it. So that's pretty cool to see. It's going to be higher than the other Hornets. Additionally, the Auroras all got a pretty good buff. So a lot of ships getting buffs here. A lot of the fighters are in this more 90% almost, 85% increase. And then down the bottom, we have the Pisces and stuff. Some of these others that were higher up on the listing, they're not getting that much, only getting a 50% increase. So not even, it's not going to be twice as much. It'll be half as much added on to it. So here we are looking at the size 1. The differences in the drives. These happen to be inverses, which is what you would expect to see. So these Vulcan, Flood, and Wayfarer, these are sipping on fuel. Simping on fuel. They're sipping on fuel, so they're fuel efficient. Therefore, it takes them longer to get to where you need to go. That kind of makes sense. However, that's not going to stand to be the same reasoning in the other sizes. So these other drives that are faster, like the Atlas and the VK00, those are on the higher end listing here of being less fuel efficient, but they're faster, so that kind of makes sense. However, you'll find with size 2 and 3 that doesn't hold to be true. Over here, you can see the Defender again makes the top of the list because it got a huge increase in how in its capacity. Rambler actually went up there pretty high as well. It was towards the middle of the bottom, or like it was here. It wasn't quite in the middle of the pack, but it was at the higher end of that. Wrong tab. Additionally, you can see the Terrapin. These are the ones that got only about a 50% increase, but they're still top of the lineup because they were already pretty big as it begins. But the C8 kind of stands out here because it's in fact a starter ship. It looks to be the only starter ship. Oh, the Intrepid. So the Intrepid and the C8 are standouts for starter ships. They can go the furthest of the starters. I don't know if I'm missing any other starters here. Let me know. I'm sure people in the comments will be like, you missed this one. I mean, the Cutter Rambler, the Cutter is technically a starter ship, but this Rambler variant is not available as a starter ship. You could upgrade to the Rambler from the Cutter, assuming it's available, but it's not an actual starter package. The Intrepid is. So it looks like they're trying to go for being able to travel further with the Intrepid as a bonus, which I think was how it was set up anyways, but the C8 is cheaper than the Intrepid. It's only $45 as its starter price. It's probably more than that for the package, maybe 50, 55, but it was still a good deal compared to the Intrepid here, considering the fact that it has the ability to travel really far, considering it's supposed to just be a shuttle. Which bodes well for the C8R if being able to travel around and still do missions. The Hornet series still showing up pretty good here. Actually, okay, yeah, so they buffed the Hornet in a way to make it up here with the other kind of good ships, so that's where the tracker shows up. Otherwise, the other fighters all kind of in this 162.5 realm when you're looking at most fighters, except for the Arrow, which is a smaller fighter, and then this is where most of the starters kind of show up, is the 137 range. And then down here we have the X5 and the M50. So I don't want to belabor these too long, but feel free to pause. Let's see, I've got the Saber comment at the top here. Let me scroll so we get the Saber comment at the bottom here, like so. So do you want to pause this? You can take a look. We're up to the 100i. You can see where your ship might land. And then I'll move up to the 100i. So here's the 100i. So here's the final part of the listing. Went from bottom to top, but anyways, let's move on to size 2. Size 2, same kind of data here. However, we will find out that these drives down here at the bottom, that are most fuel efficient, are also very fast, which does not compute, but it does. I mean, it's just, so I don't know if they're still having to adjust the size 2 and 3 like speeds or the fuel efficiency, but something seems off here. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark, I think is a saying. Anyways, so here we are looking at the listing of ships. This was, again, old data. So this is where they lined up when it came time to 2 days ago's now data on how far they could travel. And then this is the percent increase they're going to get. So quite a few in here. Raft. I wanted to actually see the Raft come up even higher, but yeah, we'll take a look and we'll see where these kind of land out. Additionally, the Guardian was just added to the data set as of yesterday. The data was brought into Urkel. So if you want to take a look at the Guardian, I should have mentioned that in yesterday's video, but go take a look at that. So it wasn't in the old data. So for me, it's a 0% increase because I didn't know what it was before. Here we are looking at the duration. So this is how far, again, as I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this is how long it would take you, a minute in XL1's case, to go 10 gigameters. So again, looking at the size 2 data, you can see that these ones are actually fuel efficient. So it's kind of odd that you can get these fuel efficient drives that also happen to be very fast. Moving on here to take a look at after the buff, what it comes out to be. 509 for the Aquila that stands out. Corsair, so both of these two are exploration ships. They do make kind of sense. A lot of people think the Corsair is a gunship, but it is in fact meant to be an exploration ship. Here's the other Connie classes. Do note the almost 375, we'll say 370, that the Taurus has to offer, because we're going to look at something else with the Starlancer Max here next lineup. Again, the Raft, I'd like to see it higher on this listing, because the Raft I always thought would be kind of a ship that you can travel further with. So the Raft's way down here on the bottom side of this, whereas before it used to be really good with its fuel tank. So I would rather see it up here, because it has lower storage for almost no reason, because it can hold more. That they just stacked up the boxes in the back, but they should give it a bigger quantum drive or something in order to allow it to actually go further. Vanguard's down here, and so you can see the CL is different than the ES, so you get a bit more. It's also meant to be an exploration, but as far as exploration, it does fall under it's also smaller in size compared to these as well. So anyways, let's take a look at size 3 and 4. Originally I didn't have size 4 in here. You wouldn't know that because I didn't release that video, but the Allegro, I believe, is the size 4 drive here, whereas the other capital ships like the Polaris and the Reclaimer, they do have other capital components, but their drive is actually a size 3, not a size 4 capital size. So when we go look at the 890 jump down here, it's pretty far down the listing. Additionally, that fuel, that efficiency is not very good on that drive. Down here, Urbos and TS2 look to be pretty good drives with fuel efficiency, and you know what? They'll be good on speed too. A little foreshadowing. Polaris coming up at the top here, but it's not going to get as big of a buff, but it'll still be a standout with even just a 5% increase. We're not seeing crazy increases here. Really, the lower sizes are the ones that got the bigger buffs. So these size 3s, not seeing a lot of increases in here, except for the Starlancer Max, which is a bit of a standout here, as it could go in a dismal 166. Again, if we go back to compare it to the old I guess it was 318 now. The old look at the Taurus here, 318. However, the Taurus can currently go 370 almost. So let's compare that to the 160, taking a look at the 318. I mean, that's a pretty big difference, almost twice as much that the old Star Max, the Taurus, can go over the Starlancer Max. So let's see what it looks like now with the pretty big buff here. Not big enough, as it still makes it at the bottom of the run here at 200. Additionally, you'll again see that the Urbos and the TS2 are fast drives, and they are also fuel efficient. So not sure what's going on with that, if they're going to retweak these numbers, but yeah, it's just one of those things where you yeah, it's just one of those things that is kind of panning out to be faster drives and fuel efficient. Sorry, I had a text that I was looking at work. Otherwise, you see where this lines up. Again, the jump, 890 jump, this is the Allegro. It's not fast, it's not fuel efficient, and so it puts the 890 at a pretty low point on the distance. I'd kind of like to see that buffed and possibly a faster drive for that ship, or at least better offerings, because you can't actually buy another ship or buy another drive. And Starlancer Max, again, is a little bit disappointing on this particular data set, as even though it's been increased, if we go look at the size 2, again, it's almost 370, a little over 370 so it's not quite twice as much, but it's pretty significantly more distance you can travel in something like the Taurus. Yeah, that's about it. Looking at the different options here, again, feel free to pause and any of the ones you want to take a look at. With all this visualization stuff, I like doing it, but it's hard to determine the best way to go around this, because with all the different ships, unless I did it per ship as like a ship review, it's hard to build out visuals for each of the ships unless we're looking at one size category, like maybe ships or something of that nature. Shields, sorry, not ships. So we're looking at a larger category of a certain component or something like that. It's hard to visualize across all the different ships, the different configurations you can have. Let me know in the comments down below if there's something else you want me to look at as far as data is concerned and visualize it. I'll try to think of some of the more things we could take a look at it, but just from the quantum drive, because of how important it is, when I showed in the beginning there, especially in Pyro, how far these distances are, you can kind of see now that some of these ships can make it back and forth a few times before having to gas up, whereas that's not the case for some of them. Anyways, thank you all for checking out the video. Catch y'all next time. Peace.